Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm gonna build another LPD, but this time we're gonna do some armoring. So last time I built an LPD, we just did the basics, shape, and like simple armoring on simple things. But today we're gonna go and do proper armoring and armoring techniques, which also can be part of your playstyle. So there's kind of like two main armoring things that I know. You have your core armor. So basically, if you had your thruster stack like this as your core, well, not like this, but stuff inside, we'll get to that later. Normally what I do for core armor is just 1x3s on top of the whole core, or as far as you can. And if you're starting to run low on complexity after that, just go with panels. Panels take the same damage to blasters as normal blocks, but they have higher rocket resistance. And decoration blocks, which are used to armor wings and anything that requires drag, so elevators, wings, ailerons, fins, anything that requires drag to work, cover with long hoods mostly, or pretty well any decoration block. Make sure it has no drag though, because another point of these is protecting from one shot with zero drag, because 90% of decoration blocks have zero drag, so it's pretty good. I think the tone generator, the ship's lantern, and I don't know what others, but there might be one more that has drag. So if you don't use these two for armoring, you'll be fine. What I turn aerodynamics, there we go. Yeah, I don't think any of the new mech pieces has drag. Maybe the hilt here? Nope. That? Nope. Yeah, no, nothing. Any of those have drag. Yeah, only these two really have drag. I don't know if there's any others with drag. So let's start building. I'm gonna again go with the normal cockpit, and they finally fixed the drag, so it's not just a red wall anymore. So what I like to do is I like to put a block in front of the cockpit like this, a 1x3, for protection. Because if the rocket dies, you know that your cockpit is really close to getting destroyed. So I like doing that. And I've heard from somebody that the aggregate block on the product mode actually activates a frame sooner for blocks that it goes into. Not fully tested, but that's what I've been told. So I'm using it so that my rockets can get fired sooner. Then what I like to do is put one little grid wall in front of the rocket, and then just finish off the nose here. So for your rocket, you always want to have like 4 connections for it. That's kind of like the max you can do. Do in the front, do in the back. You want your rocket pretty well connected to your seat. So that does this, and now I'm going to go build a mirror mode because it's more efficient. So what we're just going to do is we're going to start making our wing line here, which will pretty much determine how big the plane is. I don't know that'll make it too big. There, that's a decently small LPD, but it'll work. We can always lengthen it later. So that what you have is your neck. You want your neck connected to your seat. And you want to make that just like a pillar of grids. And then what I like to do is I like to have at least one blaster like connected to the seat, and then 2 more trailing behind it. And I'm putting them at this height because it's right at wing line height, like wing line height. So they'll have good side and top protection from any rockets and blaster hits. And then we're just gonna start protecting the nose and covering up the seat, The seat doesn't need the most armor, but it needs a little bit. Because if you accidentally get into a fight where you're like, you know, got your seat pointing right at them and their blasters are hitting right in this front here, you want just a little bit of armor. But generally you don't take too many hits to the seat. So this is an area where you can save complexity on just doing 1x4 spam. And the front of the wing line can be pretty cheap as well. Like that. And I'm still just gonna show you guys how to do like a normal stall fighter, because really still haven't figured out the whole retention thing, and I don't care for retention fights. Just gonna keep protecting this area. We'll always start somewhere. And whenever you can, use the lightest blocks to your disposal. The lightest block in the game, that's like a 2x2, is a rounded inverted corner 1x2. It's a whopping 0.25 kilograms. And if you have a lot of space, you can use spoiler. Any of the spoilers are really light. So if you have space, you can do them. But in the embassy there's a retention graph, so if you want to be legal over there for, I guess, LPD stuff, you're gonna want to keep your retention low. I mean, it doesn't really matter for a stall fighter because you're not gonna have too much retention. But I'm gonna keep putting armor down here. I'm gonna put some more armor down here. You don't need the most down here, I've found. You shouldn't. You fly your plane, right? You shouldn't be taking any shots to the seat. Should be absolutely none. Now I'll do this. So now our blasters can only be hit from like this like direction, which should work good. They can still be hit here, but what I like to do is take some 1x4 and go over the top. You know, this will be a great lead into our core armor. Now I'm just gonna connect the wing line. There we go. Nice and connected up. I'm gonna get one longer. Great. I'm gonna do what I like to do to end off the wings. Just something like that. Great. Now is a great time to save. You got your wings shaped out. You can do bigger and skinnier and longer and shorter. Do what you want, but this is an alright size. This is still a small LPD, but it's not too small. Take a few more blocks, just fill it in here. Alright. So now you want canards. And you're going to generally do that with small elevators. So I've been noticing lately is people have been putting them under the wing, like this, because you shouldn't need to pitch down. That's the whole reason for this. You're protecting them better, and you don't need to pitch down, or at least you shouldn't be over pitching to where you need to pitch down. So I'm gonna do this, but if you over pitch a lot and you need the pitch down assistance, just put them above the wing line. And to cover them, just use decoration blocks, like I was saying. But you can just do this. And you still want a strong connection, so there we go. Need this. Alright. So now we're at a point where we can put our core in. So for core, what I mean by that, if you don't know, is just like your thrusters that make up your main part of your plane. Because you want to basically line front to back with thrusters. So basically when you say like a 3 wide core, you mean like this. 2 wide is only 2 thrusters, 4 wide is 4, and so on. Normally a good core size is 3 to 4. If you need excessive power cores, you can do 5. If you don't have a lot of space, you can do 2, but generally use 3 or 4 wide cores. They work out really well. Alright, now I'm just gonna fill it in front to back with thrusters. Great. So now you're probably wondering, how do we connect this up the most optimal way so that your core doesn't get destroyed instantly, but it's still decently cheap. So what I've been doing is 4 1x3s in the middle, connected with grids on the outside. And you can do this for a 3 wide core. I build a little demonstration back here. What you do is just take your thrusters, and you can just use 1x4s instead. Now if you want it to be stronger, or different, I guess cheaper you could say, you could just do the 1x3s. And if you want it to be lighter, just fill it in with grids. But the core design I'm using here is one I've been using for quite a while, and it seems to be decently good. So that's what I'll show you how to use today. Then what you want, so you don't have to do this, but it can make your plane slightly stronger, is what we call pillars. Pillars just run from kind of the front to the back of your plane. So I'm gonna make this pillar extend a little farther forward, like that. See how it's going and connecting everything in line with it. This is like a good anchor point, and will help protect your plane. You can double layer it, but you don't really need to. I just put 1x4s underneath because it works well. So let's work with our nacelles now. I know I'm kind of all over the place, but let's just work with the nacelles, trust me. So depending on how your playstyle is, so this plane is going to rely more on its core armor. It's kind of how I'm setting it up. So there's another playstyle where you kind of, because the core armor planes are like, you range control. You basically sit on the edge of your blaster's range and try and get hits on your opponent. But for a like frontal attack plane, like where you're always pointing nose, if you have enough pitch and stuff, where you can always point your nose at your opponent, generally those planes are weaker and we call them glass cannons. But if you make it strong, it's kind of just more like a frontal attack plane, and generally they're really long and skinny, and their nacelles start like back here, so they can just fill this whole wing line in with armor. But we're not going to do that, we're just going to do a normal little thing here. Just fill in this whole hole in with blocks, so there's no drag. Then we'll take another and put it down here. Actually, we don't need to. This should work. So what we're going to do today is what is known as the metric stack. Somebody named Metric made a thruster stack that is really effective. And this is how you build it. So basically, if I take this off the plane, because I kind of built that pretty quickly, if I take it over here, you have 3 thrusters. And they're stacked like this. You got 1 in the middle up high, 2 at the bottom down low. And then what you do is you have your 4 grids and your outside your nacelles. 1 grid goes in front of the up high thruster to make this all like kind of more square. And then you take 3 more at the bottom here in like a U shape, strap them right there. Should surround this thruster and connect these 2. And then you take these 2 blocks, which aren't required. Actually, no, they kind of are required. But they go on top, and they haul all of this hooks in together. So if you put this on your plane here, you just copy and paste. It's pretty good. It's pretty strong. it stores a lot of thrust. The nice thing about this is you can get a lot of thrust out of it, and so you can keep your plane a little shorter, and you get a lot of yaw authority because you can use your differential thrust, just power yaw your way through everything. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna install a wing to start. There we go, a wing. This will allow you to see your forces, and our yaw is of course very far forward. Our vertical is pretty far forward as well, but isn't finished. So let's go ahead and work on finishing it. So because this plane is so small, I'm gonna make it a little longer. This will give us more space for everything. But now let's put in our thrust vectoring. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna make a grid wall like this. You're gonna go into here and grab a large range, but 2 like this. Then you're gonna take 2 thrusters and stack them like that. Well, actually, I really can't on this because we'll just do 1. This will be fine. You just don't want connections right here. And then I'll take another grid platform, put it here. It's kind of like a sandwich between your hinges. Then we'll take and put like these right here, because you don't want the front of the nacelle to connect to the, or I guess the back of the nacelle to connect to the thrust vector. You don't want that. Okay, because this really wants to be down low, to make it circular, we'll just do this. You'll put 2 thrusters, just fill this in with grids, fill this one with grids. It'll look a little dumb, but we'll just put that there. It's kind of like, I guess, a reverse nacelle, because normally they have this little bump at the top. But yeah. Then we'll take some of these rounded 1x2s and put them like that. This kind of makes the shape of the nacelle, or thrust vectoring, known as TVCs. And then you'll take your flat windshields, which apparently have insanely good drag for what they are. You'll take them like this because it saves complexity, and your thrust vectoring doesn't normally get that hit, I've noticed. Then take more thrusters like this, another one, and another one. You should be able to fit 4 thrusters in here. You'll just go and connect it, and then we'll just take some 1x3s. Well, thrust vectoring nozzle. And to make sure there's no collision issues, move it, and it's all good. So now let's just start putting our elevators in. We need to move our forces quite far back, so I'm gonna put as many as I can back here. Perfect. That should be almost good enough. Then what we want to do, because technically these wings are kind of weak, but I don't really have enough space. I don't really care enough. You shouldn't technically, if you fly good, you shouldn't take damage in the wing. It's kind of just like that. I'm actually gonna rearrange this a little bit, because I want to put in my yaw here, my yaw stability. Just like this, which that's probably not even gonna be near enough. So we're gonna have to implement some funny things. I don't know what it is, but lately I've been building planes that have forces really bad. And actually this one hasn't looked to become terrible. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna move all of it back. Move all of this. Just start by pulling it out of the way. Just reshape this whole thing so that we can get this a few blocks back. Now, I am going to... I'm gonna need a connection for this, right? I'm gonna do something a little weird and just do this. Connect there, perfect. So if I happen to need more yaw stability, I can get it. Also make sure this thing I'm putting here won't connect. Since I can, well actually, or is it DLC? It's okay, we'll use a paddle. Put a paddle there, that'll help stabilize our force a little bit. So this plane's starting to come out a little complex, but it's fine. We'll cover the top here with panels. And again, don't connect them to your cells all the way. Great, looks nice, works fine. That's all we want. So this is a 256 power core plane, which I have found is kind of the average. That is like a good average for a plane. So now what I'm gonna do is take and cover the core. We're just gonna take these 1x3s and cover the core. Okay, so now we're here. You can either just like slope it down and then put panels, or what you can do is called a bathtub. And it's pretty well where you take stuff like this and kind of make like a little tub out of wedges. So the whole point of the bathtub is kind of all theory. I don't think been fully tested, but because of how explosions work, they cast a ray cast of like a spear of explosion bolts that whenever they come in contact with something, they explode on like a flat surface. But technically, I think I've heard, and that's why the bathtub supposedly works, is if a rocket lands in here, the bolts will disperse around here, but apparently the bolts can ricochet. So the whole point of this is the rocket lands in here, and all the bolts around ricochet. That's the whole point of this. But the rocket has to land in it, so if it doesn't land in it, it's kind of useless. So you can use it or you can't, you don't want to use it. It's just all up to if it's useful for you or not. Also what I'm going to do, it'll change the shape of the plane a little bit. But I'm just going to connect up the like core to the nacelles. And again, I'll just keep using 1x3s. You don't want them really be 1x4 per se, because that'll like reduce your durability ever so slightly. Just fill it in with 1x3s. And at the back here, we'll just like put some more wedges to make it look nice. And seeing as I have a space here, I'm just gonna make it a 5 at the back. A little more thrust. And then if you want your water retention, or a little bit better water retention, just put some wedges at the back. Alright, here we go. Forces don't look terrible. Let's see. So another thing you can do, if you are over pitching a lot, you notice, you can actually, which will also help with durability, and I have the complexity, I'm gonna do it. Just take 1x4s and connect to like the back of your car. This will help so that when you lose armor, it'll keep everything together. Normally you want to like cover this whole thing, but I'm not going to. You can do that for back here as well. You just need armor. And connection points is pretty well how LPD armor works. The more connections, the better. So that's kind of why the core is just made out of 1x3s and these blocks, because you're getting 1.5 thrusters fully connected with this 1x3, and you have 2 of them. So at most you'll lose 2 thrusters, but this thruster is still connected by this grid. It's kind of all like redundancy and whatnot. And then for even more armor on the core, what we're going to do is we're just going to take panels. These absorb the same amount of shots as a block, but it only makes your core like a millimeter taller. So just kind of throw these around in places that probably need armor. Boom. They will add drag, especially if you don't put them where drag already is. Like that. See how we have good drag, but if I was gonna put these like a block back, we're just creating more drag than needed. So if you can't put them, especially in areas, if you are gonna put them where drag already exists, put them in front or behind. Don't just like, don't always just throw shields out here like this because you're creating drag. Make sure you know where you're putting them. So now let's actually get to working on the plane. So I haven't fitted the planet thing logic yet. Let's go do that. Probably should have done this at the start, but it's fine. So your like yaw logic and roll logic should be in the front. I've lately only been doing yaw logic in the front, because I've been putting my roll at the back of the plane where it matters. Because you only really roll at the back of your plane. There's no point to have it anywhere else. Now if we come in here to the NOR gate, put Q and E in it, come over to the AND gate, and put space in it. That's the whole logic system. So to customize your yaw, you just come and decide how many thrusters you want to do for yaw. For a normal plane, just fill in the cells with logic. Or connect all the thrusters in the cells with logic. Gosh dang it. And make sure it's the AND gate with the space on it. And on both sides. There we go, all thrusters are connected. Actually no, I forgot one I see. Right here, great. Now, multi-select all your thrusters by holding Control and double tapping left click. Pull all your thrusters up. So if you were to do more thrusters, this is how you do it, or to set them up. All your thrusters on the left side of the plane set to E. All your thrusters on the right side of the plane set to Q. Now if I bring these all back down, and if I press Q, you see how we're yawing. We're not, and especially if I'm off the carrier, we're spinning. For a lot of you this may be too much, and for others this might be too little. It's easy to customize. What is getting activated on? What did I hook up with Norgate? One thruster. Great. No more thrust sounds. Next step is we're gonna set the yaw bindings. QE 45 degrees to speed, strength max, dampening none. This is just kind of what I do. You probably don't need to set the strength to dampening, but I do. Actually, what am I doing? Just set all of your controls to 45, max the strength, delete the dampening, set your speed to 2. Alright. Now I'll just set this to the Q. This one's set, and then we need to go back to the canards. So these ones, you're going to need to reverse the speeds and set the angle to 25. Because when you start pitching and pitching and pitching, these will get past their effectiveness and actually just slow you down and probably make your pitching worse. So you want them at like 25. They're mostly there so that your plane has drag in the front to help it just pull over. But now we should be able to pitch up and down. Just like that. And we can spin. And it's decently stable. It can be more stable. It might have to be more stable, considering that it won't stop pitching down once we start going down. But what we're going to do is our thrust vectoring hasn't been set up yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to set it up. You can leave the angle on 30, just set your speed to max, set your steering help to 20, because at high speeds, you're not going to need your thrust vectoring, it won't do anything. Then set your angles properly. Up, the red on the left side is S on the right side, the green is S. And you want to do this so you have roll vectoring. But now if I activate my thrust vectoring, it helps with the pitch, maybe even too much. So this is the thing where our forces are not set up right. Go back into mirror mode. I mean, you don't need to, but I've had to do this on so many of my planes recently. Just take two little small tail fins, put them on the back. Now, our plane doesn't instantly spin out. In fact, there are bands, but at low speeds where you actually fight this thing, it doesn't rubber band at all. It actually comes out pretty good. And now we can test our yaw. So like I said, this is probably way too much yaw for most of you. For me, this is fine, but for a lot of you, you're not going to be able to control this. And for durability reasons, you can take some of your cohort thrusters, and when you hook them up to the middle, when you take damage and lose some of your nacelles, and your yaw stabilization, when you get heavily damaged and you're kind of just like this much of your plane flying, if this thing can survive that much damage, those thrusters will help you keep you stable when your plane is falling apart. So next thing is we need roll. So there are two ways we can do this. We can just set like one or two of these to be full only roll commands, which actually I'm going to do. I'm going to set this to A and D, and this to D and A. So now if I roll left, the right side goes down and the left side goes up, vice versa. So this will give us less pitch overall. It'll make it more stable. As you can see, you spin a lot slower. And we have roll. But I still want to give it roll vectoring. How do we do that? We're gonna go back into mirror mode again. And we're gonna take this block that we had earlier, delete it, make an XOR gate. Set your XOR gate to D and A, and then hook it straight into your hinges. And of course it's backwards. The one time it's backwards. Alright, A and D. Boom. Roll left. It does the same thing as your elevators, but with your thrusters. So now your thrusters can do every control, even yaw. So now this is the full LPD. We have yaw, which is actually like way too unstable. We can fix that. Pitch, which might be too stable honestly now. And roll, which is okay. For you guys, this thing's gonna be decently sensitive, but we need to fix the yaw. The yaw should not really be spinning, just flying straight. So if we check, its force is like out in the moons. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna remove the paddle. I don't think we need it anymore. We're gonna add another elevator for yaw. And its forces are all going in the right direction except for the left side, of course. Standard Trailmakers. And Q, E. Perfect. So now we have 4, which, if built right, can help make the plane redundant. But it's not really on this thing. And boom. So now we have the pitch, which is pretty good now. It's like a good balance. Our yaw, which is still gonna be very good because we're just forcing the plane to yaw. Okay, the pitch is a little insensitive for me, but for you guys, I bet it'll be fine. Roll might be sensitive for you, and if you find your pitch is insensitive, you can just make one of the roll elevators and our pitch elevator. I personally use a lot of roll in a dogfight, because when you're at low speeds, you don't have that much roll authority, so you want a lot of roll. So what I normally do is I have roll and I have all my elevators do pitch and roll, except for yaw. Or the yaw elevators didn't do pitch and roll, because there's no point in that. They do yaw. But here we go. Let's see. The plane is pitching down on its own. How do I fix that? We just take drag and move it. So as you'll notice, there's a lot of drag on this plane pushing it down. All of this is pushing it down, the whole front top is pushing it down. We have only a little bit pushing it up. So what we're going to do to counteract the pitching down is we're just going to make some of those pitch up. That's the nice thing about having this little hole in the nose that is filled with drag, is you can just use it to help tune your plane. So we're still pitching down quite aggressively. So what we can do is we can take some of this drag that's pushing us down, like right here, make it sideways. Then it'll be neutral, at least for the pitch. And it's still pitching down, but it's a lot better. It's less aggressive. What can we do again? Right here. Actually, that wouldn't even help because the shield. We'll remove the shield. It doesn't need to be down there. And we'll do this. That'll help protect that elevator. And it'll give us some better support. Gosh dang it. So this thing actually has pretty decent water retention. There's like 6 blocks total of bad drag on the back. Which if you remember from the LPD building video, red drag in the back makes water retention worse. And now this plane is flying almost perfectly straight. It's not really going to get much better than this. Let's use logic. And to do that, you would probably just use a speed sensor so you can customize which speed it activates. So you have the best acceleration, blah blah blah. But the plane flies straight. It goes, I think, fast enough. It's going like 950 miles per hour, almost 1,000. You can pitch up, and you're stable. Your roll's a little wonky, and that could be because it's so far back compared to your center of mass. But I bet you guys can fix that. Or just get used to it, one and two. It accelerates pretty good, and its yaw is yes. Its pitch is a little bit slow to get going, and that's just because only 2 of its surfaces, or in the front of the wing, is doing the pitch. You can fix that by making the ones in the back, where the roll is, do pitch. You can like flop around, figure out what works for you. And then, if you ever wanted to figure out if you ever wanted to do thrust to weight calculation, so you can figure out how powerful your plane is. Also, let's save real quick. No point not to. So what you do is you're going to select all your thrusters. Every thruster except for RCS. And RCS is just thrusters that are like in the front and back or something that do pitch. So if you set this to like S, you have pitch up assistance. That's thrust, but we don't need that. So now that our thrusters are out of the plane, we're going to just delete the plane. So we have 77 blocks, and each space thruster is 250 power. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your calculator, or use it to math in head, but I'm going to use a calculator. You go 77 times 250. And for this plane, it has a power of 19,250. Then what you're going to do is divide that number by 2.8. And then you should come out with 6,876. Then what you're going to do is bring back in your plane. And you're going to divide that number, 6,875, with the weight of your plane. And everything here. All of this show up here at this weight. 1580.6. And then that number is your thrust to weight, which it comes out to, this plane has a 4.3. You can put your thrust back in, blah blah blah. All good. So then what we're going to do is, there shouldn't be, because I don't feel like it's that slow, make sure you have transparent blocks on, and aerodynamics on, and then you're going to you're just going to drag click over your whole build. And then you're going to look for any internal arrow. Because what internal arrow you would see, if it's like inside the plane, like right here or something, you would never see it here. But because I deleted those thrusters down here, because transparent blocks just makes it so when you select your whole build, it just makes it transparent, I think. No, it actually does that. Yeah, see? You can see it going from transparent to not. Normally just build transparent blocks on, allows you to see better anyways, but you can see this internal drag. So if you see like anything that's not green and on the outside or where it should be, make sure to fill it in. Since I made that hole, I'll just fill it back in. And we are pretty well done. What I forgot to do was wing armor. So normally what you do is you just protect your elevators and wings. So we'll just take and put some things and whatnot. You know, these wings kind of really suck for it. We'll do some of this. And this is kind of as good as your wing armor is gonna get. You can just make these ones like glass and call it a day. Yeah, you gotta make sure you're building in mirror mode. There we go. So now your wings are protected. You can do underside as well. Because why not? It doesn't really matter. Because you shouldn't take damage to your underside. And also, don't cover these up. I mean, I guess you can use decoration blocks. You don't really need the good panel armor, but if you do happen to take a lot of damage here and you are using like these decoration blocks, just put panels on top. Because decorations, as I said earlier, can only tank one hit from anything. Even a little tiny cannon. If a tiny cannon hits this long hood, it will instantly die. So you're just saving yourself one extra hit, but that could mean life and death. And there we have it. You have yourself a fully armored LPD that should do pretty well. I'd take this into a dogfight, but I don't think anybody that dogfights is on right now. And I forgot to set my controls for my guns, of course. I'm weird, and I use shift and control for my guns and control for my rocket. Also set your aim assist scale to 0.5 if you want to be like a legal LPD for the embassy. If you don't know who they are, they're just a big group that does LPD dogfighting. They're kind of where the LPD started from. So if you want, I might be able to get together with G-Ninja, the current owner of the embassy, and I might be able to get a link for my profile so you guys can directly join the embassy. But for now, I'm not going to bother them with that. Just fly around with LPDs, and if you see a server that is like exclamation dogfight with G-Ninja Chaos, join that server and ask to join the embassy and he'll probably invite you. They're always open to more people. I'm gonna hook up my aggregate into there. There we go. Rocket, blasters. Also time your blasters. Don't forget to time your blasters. So to get like, because you want to time them because they have a chance of not doing damage. If they all, like 2 blaster bolts or more hit a block at the same time, they're not gonna do equivalent damage and like armor pierce. They're just gonna hit the block and do nothing. They're gonna do 1 damage. They're gonna do 1 blaster worth of damage. So basically what you can do is you can do a infinite timed blaster count where your blasters never stop shooting, or you can do a quick burst, which I'm gonna show you here. You want 1 blaster on 0, second one on 0.03 because they shoot every 0.03. That's how in between they shoot, I think, or something like that. And you'll do 0.06, not that many zeros, 0.06, 0.09, 0.12, and 0.15. So now if I shoot my blasters, they're in a nice constant stream. If I make it like nighttime, you can see it's just a stream of blaster bolts. And now your plane is 100% finished. You can, if you feel like it, you can add more armor. You could technically lengthen it and add more thrusters to your core. you don't really need to be 300 thrusters. You kind of want to be around in the 200 power core area. And for this size of LPD, this is actually, I feel like, decently light. Considering it's 259 power cores, only barely 1600 kilograms. Normally they're like 1600, 1700 for this size of plane. 300 power core planes are generally 2 tons, which is 2000 kilograms. And you can obviously get below that and blah blah. But this plane, for its size and whatnot, is technically slightly on the light side. And if you feel like you want more armor and you don't care about the drag, because it probably won't lay down too much, you can cover this up more, or if you feel like you have the complexity, you can cover up in tiny panels, or at least smaller panels. These have the exact same health as the big ones, and they actually, 4 of them is lighter than one big one, and one 2x2. They all kind of just get lighter. So I guess we can actually do this on this plane since we have the complexity. So I think that'll call this plane done. I don't think I will post this. Maybe I will post this to a workshop. Or I decal it up later. So I guess you'll have to download it to get the decals. So I guess I will post it. This will be the first LPD I post. If you watched the last video, you can go download the tank I had posted, because apparently it works a lot better than I thought it would for a 10-minute tank. But I think we're gonna call the video here. Thank you all for watching. I do hope this armoring tutorial for LPDs was helpful, making your LPD stronger, and I kind of walked you through again how to build it in case the last one wasn't helpful enough. So I guess I'll go do some more dogfighting, because heck yeah. Anyways, see you next one. Remember, we're all Trailmakers. Bye.